Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to present the effects of velopharyngeal opening on vocal fold contacting. This is a project between several institutions and researchers, between myself, Philippe Alain, Professor Johan Sundberg in the middle of the picture there, Professor Brian Gill on the right, and other two colleagues that could not be here with us today, Professor Svante Granqvist and Jessica Lee.
Many things have been said about velopharyngeal opening, VPO. Back in '97, Steve Austin said that the velopharyngeal port should remain closed in singing. William Bernard in '67 said, keep it closed except in the top range, because in the top range, if you have it open a little bit, it'll add some twang or enhance the singer's formant. And then Coffin in 1960 said a motto had some velopharyngeal opening except on the vowel ah. So these are diverging opinions, and so we needed to investigate further.
Together with some friends, I studied the velopharyngeal opening in professional opera singers. And we used a fiberscope to look from above if there was an opening or not. And we found lots of different shapes of openings in about half of the 18 operatic singers. And here you could see examples of the varying shapes. We also ran a listening test, asking experts to rate the degree of nasal quality of vowels sung with a velopharyngeal opening or without. And there was no correlation between the existence of a VPO and the ratings. So the nasal quality was not necessarily associated with a velopharyngeal opening. Tanner studied nasal airflow in non-nasal sounds in a lot of participants and found greater nasal airflow and larger VPO in singing than in speech. And she also found that some classically trained singers sang with a VPO. In 2007, I studied together with some other people VPO or effect on the frequency curve of the vocal tract, and we found that it introduced a zero in the transfer function of the vocal tract.
And it also enhanced higher frequency partials, right, Johan?
Yes, that's correct. It could, in some cases, it enhanced high frequency partials.
Some other earlier studies in velopharyngeal opening revealed that the velopharyngeal opening weakens the amplitude of the first formant. Also, the velopharyngeal opening sizes affect the spectrum differently. For example, a wide velopharyngeal opening decreases overall sound level, which would be a disadvantage for a singer striving for output. A slight VPO strengthens higher spectrum partials. This effect can also be achieved by an increase in vocal loudness, but it may be advantageous to let the VPO produce this effect. A common experience among singers is that the sound production is facilitated by a slight velopharyngeal opening. Also, listeners observing this effect have noted some positive results from it.
So the question now is, can a VPO also affect vocal fold vibration? And to do that, we run an experiment building upon what we have done already with the higher spectrum partials found with a slight VPO. So we recorded 5 classical trained singers. Could you explain more about that, Brian?
They were lovely human beings, 2 baritones, 2 tenors, and 1 soprano. The recordings of the vowel sequence were made using this hybrid system. The vowel sequence was E, A, O, U. And we recorded simultaneously audio, the electrolaryngograph, nasal flow, and oral flow. The recordings were made in a studio at New York University. And there were 3 random conditions: no velopharyngeal opening, labeled none, narrow velopharyngeal opening, labeled slight, and a wide velopharyngeal opening, labeled much.
Here is an example of the 4 signals that we have recorded using the Speech Studio softwares. The audio, the EGG, here called ELG because it was recorded with an electrolaryngograph, the nasal flow and the oral flow. And then we also computed manually using a script in the software designed by Svante Granqvist, Sopran, the contacting speed, and that here you see how it was extracted, normalized by the EGG amplitude and the fundamental frequency. So what did we get in our results as concerned the variation of contact quotient and fundamental frequency, Johan?
The contact quotient tended to decrease with rising pitch. And also one could see that the much tended to generate a bit higher contact quotients than none and slight.
Right.
And the contacting speed was more scattered, but it also tended to decrease with rising fundamental frequency. So contact quotient and contacting speed tended to decrease with increasing fundamental frequency. The contact quotient increases with increasing VPO, and the contacting speed tends to decrease with increasing VPO.
To test further this data, we computed or compared the 3 conditions averaged across all subjects and all pitches. And what we can see here is that we found significant differences between the 3 conditions, and the responsible for that significant difference was the much condition, that is significantly higher than the none condition as to concern the contact quotient. As with respect to the contacting speed, we didn't find significant differences between the 3 conditions as you see in this figure. Also, we wanted to do within subject comparisons, and we found that the ratio for the much and the none was significantly higher as compared to the ratio between the slight and the none. So we used the none as a reference. So the contact quotient was significantly greater in the much condition as compared to the none condition. As to what concerns the contacting speed, we did the same thing, a ratio between the much and the none and the slight and the none, and we see that there is no significant effect, although the contacting speed, that is how fast the vocal folds become into contact, were somewhat quicker in the slight as compared to the none condition. So what can we discuss, Brian?
Well, do different degrees of velopharyngeal opening cause changes in vibratory patterns of the vocal folds? Well, in the condition, the much condition, yes. The answer is yes. Effects on the contact quotient were significant for this wide VPO. Could the cause be source filter interaction? Possibly, but it also could be changes in glottal configuration, a sort of compensatory reaction of the singer to changing conditions. If there is an effect on vocal fold vibration of a narrow velopharyngeal opening, it is probably small. The effect on the spectrum found in previous studies would be caused mainly by vocal tract resonances.
So, Johan, what can we conclude?
We can conclude that can a wide VPO affect vocal fold vibration? ? Yes is the answer. It may increase the contact quotient. And can a narrow VPO affect vocal fold vibration such that higher spectrum partials are enhanced? That is very doubtful. Probably not.
So, tack så mycket.
Muito obrigada.
Grazie mille. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.